He's back.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I am Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and we've got the new Archmage Teclis model for Age of Sigmar. Now, this model is the culmination of a lot of things. Like, this is the biggest, the baddest caster in Age of Sigmar. Teclis is back from the old world, back doing Teclis things, slinging spells, pretty much undeniably from what I was reading in the rules, kind of crazy. This particular model, however, is also the model itself also is worth talking about, because this model is $170 US, which puts it in exclusive company with Archaon, which is also $170, and the two Dominus class knights from Games Workshop for Warhammer 40k, which are again $170. You know, and he is more expensive than some bundle battle boxes that they're calling it, you know, starter boxes, whatever you want to call them out there, which is really interesting. And it, you know, you can talk about reasons why and things like that, but at the end of the day, you only have to buy one for your army. So I kind of get what Games Workshop's trying to do there, but it doesn't make it any cheaper, any more affordable when it comes to actually getting this guy and getting your Lumineth Realm Lords together. So just some food for thought that, you know, prices are definitely going up. Hobbies are not cheap, and neither is Teclis. But of course, you can always get your hobbies for less from places like DiceHead.com and Amazon, who has a ton of sellers over there that you can scoop up from. Parts wise, this is going to be a really interesting build, and we're going to jump into it here in a second because I'm going to bust out the instructions. We're going to talk about it, but it's only 2 sprues, so I mean, maybe it'll be quicker than it looks. So because this is one of their super character level models, the box is kind of a slipcase here, which reveals some really cool artwork. So you can save the box and, you know, put it on your shelf behind you, or, you know, just in your hobby area right there. And it's got, you know, we saw a lot of this picture, right? But we didn't really see the bottom of the art, which is back here with Sigmar. The embodiment of Hish, I think it is, the realm of Hish. So that's really cool to see. And this kind of looks a little bit different from what the model actually turned out to. You know, a lot of people had a lot of opinions about this model. We'll just leave it at that. And I feel like the art looks a little bit better than the model, although the model doesn't look super bad. So here it is, just 2 sprues, 160, I think there's a 160 millimeter base. We'll find out in a second when we check the instruction book, and the 2 sprues themselves. Checking out the manual itself, we're going to try to glean a little bit of assembly and tips and tricks right here just from all this. But I can tell you that, well, at least the first 2 pages are mostly Teclis. It looks like Sigmar is down here. I'm actually not sure how to say his mount, but we'll keep saying it like that. So front and back, top and bottom on Teclis, and then his headdress. His hair is 2 pieces. His sword looks very precarious, but it looks like it slots into a little nub right there on the back of his MC Hammer parachute pants. And then he's got his slinging his Pokeballs right here. These are very, very tiny bits. That's interesting. And then, of course, he has his staff and his sword. And then I never really super liked this design of when they do this with like capes and things, even on smaller models. But that's going to be interesting to see and get the gaps just right on that one. But GW does a pretty good job in usually putting those things at folds where it hides the gap. Somehow he attaches to the model. Then over here looks like just a straight, you know, open kind of hollow type build for the mount. All of that. He's got his little prancy kitty cat paws right here. And this is interesting. This is stuff we've seen. We haven't seen this too much from GW, how they assemble the wings right here. And I like this because it actually adds depth. Now, I haven't looked close at the bits yet to see how detailed these wings are, but that'll be interesting to kind of check out too. Then the wings just attach onto here. It looks like it's going to be a super hollow body, tail, his little Pokeballs on his neck, and then the head itself. Doesn't look like anything too crazy. Head goes on, super hollow cavity on the inside. His bling on his neck. And then the terrain assembly here. It looks like they just give you approximate locations. More terrain assembly, various approximate locations. And then it looks like the bonsai trees and the little straw that's kind of leaning in the wind. Various locations for that, although very much not very approximate, very much not 100%. Although these look like they line up when you turn it. Okay, so that's cool. So it looks like they thought it out pretty well. And then the mount looks like Mr. Prancing Kitty Cat Paws has three different contact points here on the base, but no slots and no male to female parts. So that's interesting. So I guess you just glue them down, but you do have the potential to completely leave them off and actually paint them, which is super good, guys, because, and gals, this is a lot. Like this, you're gonna want to paint this separate. You're gonna want to paint him separate. I mean, look at this. Like you've got animal, you got feather detail, you got fur detail, you've got you know, some bone or whatever you want to do up here, and then you've got completely different landscape, completely different organic features up here. You got MC Hammer parachute pants. Like you're gonna want to separate this out. Now, how does he attach here? It looks like he's got a nub that attaches in to the wing. Okay, we're gonna check that out. That's promising. That's promising. I like to see this because you can leave this, you know, in sections, and then there's his rules. We're not gonna really talk about this because, to be honest, I think there's a new edition of the game coming out next summer. I mean, that would line up three years apart perfectly from the initial launch to 2.0. I would be very surprised if we didn't get that. So by the time this video hits evergreen status, you know, people are gonna be like, what is this? What are these rules for ants? So anyways, you can screen cap that and look at them, but they're all out there. And if you're checking this video out, chances are you already have the hot little battle tome in your hands. Now, here is this first sprue, and just like the instruction manual, it doesn't, I mean, I don't really see any surprises on this. Now, I did want to check the feather detail here. The feathers are kind of, I don't know, man. Like the feathers, there's not a whole lot of detail there. I mean, you could streak it with with your paint, with lines of paint, and really pop it off. But this is really flat detail. I mean, personally, on a $170 model, I'm not okay with that. I feel like that's lazy. I feel like that's just relying on people's wash and technique skills to really carry them through. No, don't get me wrong. You can make this look great with a lot of work, but I feel like this should be more embossed. There should be more detail work here. I like Teclis' staff. I like the bonsai trees. Those look cool. Very ornate helmet on his mount, Selenar. The rest of it I like. I like all these cracks and these nooks and crannies here on his cape. Like you can definitely do a lot with that. That's pretty cool. Now the body, see, this is what I don't get. Like the body is way more detailed, right? Like look at all those fur details. I mean, you got some open areas, but you see that on stuff, and it's the yin and the yang. Like you're gonna be able to detail this out. You're gonna be able to blend that out. So it'll net out in the wash. I feel like it'll be fine, but I just don't like the flatness to those wings personally. Those feathers. I like all this. I mean, dude, look at this. Look at this terrain. Like this terrain is more detailed than the wings. Like, I mean, look at it. Just look at it. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. But that being said, I don't really see anything else I'm not okay with. Teclis looks beautiful. Like his design work here is very well done, and it's poofy parachute pants. Although he's gonna have a ton of tiny little parts somewhere that I am going to probably scream about. All right, well, that's it. Time to build this beast. So fast forward about 2 hours. Boom, we've got it all together. Well, in sections at least. And let's talk about that here in a second. So first off, yeah, it's about 2 hour build time. No big deal. It actually took a lot less to build than I thought it was. And the hardest thing to actually build was Teclis' cape, and attaching it to him was the thing I had the hardest time with, to be honest. So everything else really went together well. Basically no problems, just dry fit everything. You know, make sure you're gonna miss a few spurs here and there, a few little clip points, right? So this is what I was talking about. Like compared to the detail on the fur and the body here, it just looks more detailed and flat on the wings. But you can mitigate that with some, some brushwork and things like that. But you shouldn't have to, in my opinion. But that's just my 2 cents. That's the one thing I don't like probably most about this model. Everything else I seem to like. I mean, everything goes together. There's the little socket point for Teclis, which I'm going to show you here in a second as well. So here's Teclis, and just like Alariel, he's basically 54 millimeters, right? Also, another point that it wasn't as bad as his cape, but these little things and these little strings right here are all separate. Now, for the most part, they do line up okay, and there's little indentations in his robe here to where they go, but they are fiddly, and you got to be super careful with the glue, what glue you're using. I use this super thin Tamiya stuff, which, you know, if you get it on you, you're not going to get your fingerprints all over everything. But if you're using, you know, typical sinuside, whatever it's called, I don't even know. But the Bob Smith Industry stuff, you could make a mess. So just be really careful with that. Use tweezers if you have to. This cape attaches to Teclis at 4 points, and these two are pretty strong and pretty easy, but getting the little knots, or the little points to stick to the knots right here, was a little challenging. I'm going to be honest with you. So I just had to basically hold it for about 5 minutes and just kind of let the glue grab itself, the super thin stuff, and now it's super strong. And you need a good bond here, because see the socket right there I just showed you, that's how he attaches to Selenar, or whatever his name is, down here. So boom, that's how he goes onto there. So it's really important that you get that cape right from the get-go. As far as the terrain, the base it came with was actually pretty warped, but I used the Bob Smith Industries, what is this, Max? No, I didn't use that. I used the purple stuff. I like using the purple stuff because it cures in like 15 to 10 seconds. So the Bob Smith Industries stuff's pretty good. I haven't been able to get army painter glue in like a year, so if I had that, I would use that. But the Bob Smith stuff's definitely my number 2 go-to. So here's all the terrain, and I mean, it looks great on here, all the little bonsai trees and stuff. But I did notice that it didn't give directions to put. There's 2 extra little wheatgrass things that I would just probably glue on the front, because this is where, you know, he's gonna stand. And it looked like there was more of them on it from the front in the box art, and you couldn't, but it didn't give you instructions to put it there. So it's just kind of like fielder's choice at that point, right? As far as attaching him to the base, there is a bit of a socket, but it's not load bearing. So you want to be super careful if you're gonna lock him down. You're gonna need to use a little bit of blue tack just to position him and kind of get everything right, depending on how you're painting him. So I'm gonna actually try to attach these guys with blue tack right now to get the assembly down, to show you just how big they are compared to some of the other models out there. So it looks like we were able to use some blue tack, or some poster tack, and get him all tacked down to the base and Teclis himself. Now, you know, kudos to the GW design team, because this is done really well, and I had no idea how long this was going to take me, what kind of, you know, effort was going to have to go into it to actually, you know, get it ready to paint. And to be honest, you know, if you're looking to pick up this army, this is a gorgeous model, and it's very easy to do in sections, to do it right. So take your time and do it in sections, because it holds together very well. I mean, this big flap of the cape is basically in complete contact with the wing right here, so it allows you to actually get in a lot of, when it's permanent, you could get in a lot of glue right there to keep them on there, or it's possible you could even magnetize it. There is enough space in there, although I don't have time to try that, unfortunately, today. So this model, again, ginormous, right? This is how he compares to like a Stormcast Duder. So basically, I mean, I know he's not as tall as Archaon, but he's definitely tall for sure. So, and then this, we actually happen to, now I hope she holds on here. I might have to glue her down a little bit. We have an Alariel for my Lumineth army. So here's how he compares to Alariel, and well, there she goes. I knew she was gonna fall. I need to glue her down a little bit better, but that's okay. So yeah, about actually the same height, give or take. Probably, I mean, I feel like the spear is just a little short on her. So pretty much the same height. I'm not going to try to do that again. So great looking mini, very well designed, $170. Alariel is actually $138. Just a little antidote there, and now she's obviously been out for a few years there. So there it is, a great looking model. You're able to modulize it if you're going to paint it in sections, what I definitely recommend. Out now from Games Workshop. Of course, you can always get your hobbies for less over on Amazon, or check out dicehead.com. Super friendly service. Great guys. Been dealing with them for a number of years for a lot of my stuff, to be honest. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our unbox and build of the new Teclis model. It's very, very interesting. I hope to see very more designs like this from Games Workshop in the near future for their larger kits that are this good. So don't forget, of course, you can always get yours for less over at dicehead.com or Amazon. But before you go over there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.